All right, we're back. It's Tom and Tony. It's the last hour of the show. We've got non-stop market talk for about the next hour and a half. We've got Andy Swan in the house. Andy, how are you?
I'm great. Good to be here. Been watching the show for a while.
For those who don't know, who were listening earlier on, Andy is our Kentucky correspondent from the Derby.
We have a Kentucky correspondent.
Yes, we do. He was enjoying a couple of Makers Market. You weren't wearing a hat that day or anything, were you?
No.
I don't see you as a hat kind of guy.
That was good.
So I met Andy probably, I don't know, I want to say 7-8 years ago. Probably.
Yeah.
7-8 years ago. And you owned a small firm that was in the process of growing, and basically you were kind of on the cutting edge at the time of doing like newsletters, trading recommendations, like trading rooms. This was before there was such a thing as trading rooms.
Right.
Andy was like the first person to get into this, and I met him, and I was intrigued by his ability to engage customers. And he was like the first generation of like a trading room. I think it was like a trading room.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we were actually the first company to stream live video through the trading day online. So it's nothing compared to this, but in terms of at the time we had a webcam, screen share, and all this stuff, so it was really cool. And looking back, I didn't even realize what we had done. But it was cool.
Yeah, and the first time I met him, we sat and we talked about it, and I was intrigued by the fact that people would actually sit there, and listen to these guys. Plus, I thought he was the tallest trader I ever met.
Yeah.
So I figured if all hell broke out, we could hire him and put him in the trading pits,
or have him play volleyball or basketball for the team.
No, I wanted him for the trading pits, because he's the right size. That's what I was always found interesting about Andy, and is that you never thought about coming to Chicago, did you, to trade the pits? Did you?
No.
Yeah. Because you were built for it.
Yeah. Well, I was just no.
Yeah, you blocked the sun.
I grew up online, right? So the first trade I ever made was online, and I never even thought about doing it any other way.
That's interesting.
So then, a couple of years later, Andy sells that company, and he starts a new company. I'll tell you just a brief story. He starts a new company, and it was a company called MyTrade. And I'm looking at the stuff, and Andy was out raising capital. He goes, you know what? I want you to take a look at this company. Tell me what you think, because we become friends over the years. And I said, I want you to tell me what you think of this company I'm building. It was the same time as like other startups in the same space, like Wall Strip and I forgot the other ones, some of the other ones that were just getting started at the same time. And said, I want to invest in this company. He was getting better. Like, I'll invest. Because I thought it was a good idea. And I was just betting on Andy. Sure. Okay, because we had this discussion already this morning. Just bet on the management team. I figure he's going to kill himself to make this company work. That's my bet. So it turns out that I wasn't able to invest in a company that I could potentially do business with, which I didn't know. So I got turned down. I wasn't allowed to make the investment because the company whatever. I wasn't allowed to make the investment, which makes sense because there was a conflict. You can't invest in something at the same time, license their product or whatever. So we just bought them. So I said, if we can't invest in them, we'll just buy it. And
it's a high-class problem.
Well, luckily we were in a position to do that. And so I think that you were the first, truly the first in kind of the social networking, trading network.
Yeah.
Whatever social, so trading community.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how do you define it?
Trading community is very accurate, But the great thing about MyTrade, what we did that's different than anybody else is people can go on there, they can share their trades just with one click of a button, and other people can follow those trades and copy them with one click. And so we sort of innovated in that way and made trading, instead of about Yahoo message board nonsense with just people yapping, we made it about actual executions and actionable ideas. And so that's what turned
the first
corner.
generation.
Right.
Yeah. And so I thought it was always, you're always cutting edge, which I found interesting because your history is different. Like you said, you started as an online trader,
right,
and you kind of learned this in a different place, away from lots of other traders.
Yeah, and cutting edge in Louisville is not very normal, right? So we like to think of ourselves as the intersection between finance and high tech. So we're right in the middle between New York and Silicon Valley, geographically. So that's how we put it together. So
I'm not sure that's going to fly.
But that's his story. He's sticking to it,
I've
right?
been sticking with that one for a while.
But what's interesting to me is that a couple things we do on the show. One, we obviously talk about trading, but the other piece to it is we talk about entrepreneurs.
Right.
And you're kind of like a serial entrepreneur,
right,
to the extent that you were the first into the so-called trading room mentality, which at the time, going back just a couple of years, I kind of wish we had that. We kind of had that in the trading pits, because you'd always be talking to everybody, but you don't think about it as a retail trader, like sitting at home. I got nobody to talk to,
and that's probably one of the, for a floor trader, that was like one of the hardest things for me. Was just like sitting in my office and not having anybody else to bounce things off of, listening to the crap on the TV. It just wasn't fun.
It can be
Makes it fun.
can be lonely,
and ideas. I mean,
And then going from that innovation, just switches, basically the first trading room to creating the first community site. I thought, this kid's got some upside. I'm saying kid.
Be careful. Did you played volleyball last night with Tom, right?
Yes.
Were you on the opposing team or the same team?
We were on the same team most of the time.
You're a smart man, Tom.
Yeah, well,
I picked the tallest, strongest guy.
Can I just say
out
something?
there too on my team.
If you took Andy and I and you combined our what I call our sand speed, I'm not sure we're winning any records.
There's a half step max at all times.
I told the story.
You guys are pathetic.
I told the story. Andy, I told the story when I first got on the court line on the sand last night. The first ball that came near me was like about a foot to my right, and when I couldn't get to it, I realized, oh my God, I can't move.
Why is there sand on top of my feet?
Right.
It's going to be a long night.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's talk about some of the stuff that's out there right now, innovation-wise. So, what can the self-directed retail investor, because that's who our audience is, what can a self-directed retail investor look forward to that's kind of coming down, like tastytrade is a content play.
Right.
What other types of innovative, creative content do you see coming down? How much of an effect does? I have two questions for you. What kind of innovative content are you sitting on right now? What's the next thing that comes out? And then what's the differentiator? What's the game changer? If you had unlimited resources to build a piece of technology that's a game changer, or unlimited resources to develop a concept that's a game changer for self-directed traders, where do you go with it? Those are heavy questions.
Those are heavy
Yeah,
questions.
I understand. What I'm trying to do is to get inside the mind of an innovator. You've been a leader in two different spots. If you could do it one more time, essentially with unlimited resources and kind of an open slate, where'd you go?
I would go to Impac. I think the trend is empowerment of the individual, and so for me, taking people who are very good at analyzing trades or analyzing markets and this sort of thing, but are sort of doing it in a cave by themselves where no one can hear them, and taking them and turning those people into true leaders, I think is
Open sourcing the whole thing?
Yeah, why not? And just with the expansion of markets globally and this sort of thing, I think that you're going to see the same things that happened here, where all of a sudden everybody could start a blog.
Sure.
Which was good and bad. You had a lot of trash, but you had a lot of good stuff. But I think the same thing happens globally, and so picking who the winners are, who the great content creators are out of sort of a global mashup is, I think that's the winner. And I think that you have to, if you could build a business that builds their business and takes a piece of it, then that's the next step.
Well, that's essentially, to a certain extent, explain what we're doing here. I mean, in a different way,
right,
which is to create a one-stop shop, a superstore for vendors,
right?
And basically, with just letting the consumer decide, which product. But I think what I'm asking is, different from what we're creating here. But what I'm asking is, if there was, if I'm a self-directed investor, okay, what out there what can outside of like the content that we're creating, outside of the technology that they have in front of it, what can help them turn the corner? What can make the next step for them?
Well, I think that's it has been and continues to be education.
Okay.
I mean, I think that people want to learn. They have a thirst for knowledge.
No question about it.
And this stuff all seems complex at first blush, but it's really not. I mean, every time that I've shown someone an option spread, they don't get it until I show them the drawing of what the risk plot looks like, and then they say, "Okay, I get it now. If it stays between here, I'm going to profit. If it goes outside of here, I'm not." So, I think the educating always has upside.
When I first met you, you were mostly a stock trader.
Yeah.
And
100%.
Primarily a stock trader.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. And then over time, you've kind of moved into a fuller,
Right.
a bigger portfolio of tools. You now trade futures. You trade futures. You trade options. You trade forex. You trade stocks. You kind of trade the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think that it's really good to hear from guys like you, people listening, how important it is to trade all the products as opposed to just trading a single. It's like just trying to be a stock trader.
Right, because you have to just adjust to the market. There's certain markets where, trading stocks up and down just doesn't work as well. And there's certain markets where trading options doesn't work as well. So you kind of have to have, the full portfolio available to yourself, I think, in order to be, successful consistently.
Different opportunities present yourself, and you
Yeah.
need different tools.
Well, it's a lot of it's leverage, a lot of it's other
Sure.
stuff. Interesting in the market. I don't know if you've been watching all morning, Andy, but S&Ps were traded 1329 this morning, now down 100. They're trading actually 1319, 1320, and the Nasdaq traded up to 2413, and it's now 2385. So there's been this was a gap. We talked about this morning, but this was a gap opening that just needed to be sold. Did you trade this morning yet?
No.
Oh, you did?
So the Apple gap just faded down to,
Yeah, Apple's up $10.
Well, Apple's still up $10, but generally the Apple, the
Effect.
euphoria
is gone.
Right.
Yeah. Gold, silver, both down, and lots of different stocks.
Netflix down 8.5%, Priceline down almost $8, Google down almost $5, Amazon down $2, LinkedIn down $3.
Before we let you go here, let's get a little idea of, because you're so involved in the markets on every single day. You're almost a tick for tick guy.
Right.
Meaning you're watching every tick. I mean, you and I have talked via email all the time, and Andy's
He's passionate.
He's a player.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what do you think here?
I think that volatility is going higher.
Really?
Yeah. I think that you've got just so much macro stuff going on and so much focus on Washington, D.C. and this sort of thing, and an election cycle coming up. I think volatility is going higher. I really don't have a good feel for the market overall. But I think, you can play, I would be long volatility. And other than that, it's just really tough because I don't know what's driving stocks from one day to the next, really. I can't figure it out other than, the big macro stuff that is fairly unpredictable to someone like me.
I'm going to take the complete opposite side, which is why there's a two-sided market. I don't think you can be long volatility from now until the day they roll me into the dumpster in the back. we're volatility sellers every single day.
Yeah.
So, I hear you. There's lots of people actually in that camp. I don't see it, but it's interesting to get the perspective. Anyway, Andy, thank you for coming in. I know it was I know you're only in Chicago for a day, so I appreciate it. And I think it's good to put a face to some of the people that we've worked with. And I'd like to bring on people that I've done business deals with in the past, because I think it shows that, I think it's important for people to see who the other side of an entrepreneurial relationship is. I think it's important for me to say, hey, you know what, I would invest in you blindly,
Right.
because I know how hard you're going to work to make something work.
Right. It's like your quote, I'm going to die in this chair.
Right.
So let's make it work.
That's right. All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks, guys. Great job with the show.
Appreciate it, Andy. Thanks.
All right, we're going to take a 2-minute break. We're going to come right back with
Good exit, bad exit?
good exit, bad exit. Beautiful.